Well, hello everybody, Dr. Ron Oberstein, and welcome to another edition of our Life West Leadership Line. And this is going to be a little bit of a different take. It's actually our last Life West Leadership Line. I'm going to actually be the subject. I'm sitting in the chair, and the host of this show is going to be my partner in everything in life, Dr. Mary Oberstein. And I don't know the questions she's going to ask. We just want it to be spontaneous, but it should be delightful, and I hope that you get a lot out of it. I'm going to be as raw as I can if that comes up, or as open. I'm always open. But so anyways, I just want to say enjoy, and thank you for your years of following this webcast, and enjoy the show.
So here we are. We finally get you in the hot seat.
It's hot.
It is good. Well, I want to pick your brain, ask you some questions now, looking back and looking forward. I want to start with leadership. You have been in practice. You had been in practice. You ran several businesses, and then you took on this role as the president of a multi-million-dollar organization. Yeah. And I know you've learned a lot since you've been here. Talk a little bit about leadership. I want to hear what you have to say about, what did you find most important when it came to leadership in this organization?
I think in any organization, and thank you. And I just want to, before we even go into leadership, I just want to thank you for taking the time to, actually for us to do this, because I think there's no one else I'd rather have this conversation with than you, and have you be able to listen in on this conversation. So thank you. I think that in leadership, not just in this organization, but in any organization, and what I've learned along the way, and I can't say exactly where, but there's a few key elements for any leader, whether it's in a chiropractic practice, whether it's in a business, that someone might be doing, a side hustle, or, being in a large organization such as a college or a university. And that's that number. The first thing is that always know that everyone is looking for a leader. Everybody wants a leader, but not a lot of people are willing to follow. Mm-hmm. And it's an important thing for a leader to know, because it's okay to be a leader and not have people follow you. Let me kind of make sense of that. It could be lonely being a leader. So you have to be thick-skinned, but you also have to be self-assured of what you're doing. And that's what I say where people aren't necessarily followed. People will buy into the vision of what you're doing or what you have more than they're going to buy into the person. Mm. And a lot of times they think, it's going to be the person, right? Right. But really it's the vision.
Yeah.
And when the vision is there, it doesn't matter who the person is, as long as they're taking them down the right road. Remember that Forrest Gump? We always laughed at that scene, right? Remember he was running on the bridge?
Yeah.
What's he do?
He stops.
Yeah, and he says,
I think he's going to say something, magical.
Yeah. And he says, I think I'll go home now.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, what about me? And what do we do? And that kind of stuff, because people want to attach on. So the second piece is getting people invested so that they can grow themselves. Because if they're not growing themselves, they're not going to grow the company or whatever the vision is that you're doing. People have to grow within themselves and become better. They need to up-level themselves. And it's so important, whether it's in your chiropractic practice or in any other business that you have, it's investing in your people. And without investing in your people, the more we invest, the better that they're going to be, and the better product that they're going to produce. Mm-hmm. And they're going to feel better about themselves. So that's the second. And then the third is the processes. To really have strong processes down, right? Chiropractors tend to have a very good process when it comes to adjusting, because they know what to do, right? Mm-hmm. Check the legs, do whatever their technique dictates, and that's a process, and that's where success comes from, by following a process. And it's the same thing with employees or anybody, Number one, do you have KPIs, right? Key performance indicators, and do we have metrics that we can be able to rate people on? So it's not like, I don't think he's doing good, I don't think she did a great job. What do the statistics say? Mm-hmm. And you can set metrics up around that to be able to say, good, how is the performance actually happening? And if it's not happening, what do we need to do to boost it up? Or it might be the wrong person, or there might be training that needs to be done, whatever it is. But that's where success comes from. And that leads to, I'm going to add one more, that's legacy. because we need to have a legacy set up. Front desk people leave and there's no training manual. There's no legacy there to be able to, someone comes in new and they just are kind of doing it, and the retraining process and all that. It just takes a lot of work. And with a legacy, it's just a binder. Everything that person does. Right? And they should update it every quarter. They should read it, take an hour every quarter, and they might change something because you might have changed something in the office or in the department, whatever it is. And so those would be the things that just off the top of my head, that I would talk about with leadership.
That's great. And is everyone on KPIs? Every position?
Yeah, They should be. I don't look at every position. That's the other thing about the leader, that you need to have people that just report to you, right, one level down, and then they have people that report to them, and they have people that report to them. But everything should be based on that, because our annual reviews that we do are based on performance, right? We don't give raises, based on the index, time, or whether how long they've been here, or if inflation went up. It's performance based, right? It's merit based, and people feel good about that, right?
Yeah.
And if they're not getting increases, it's either like, what are they doing here, right?
Yeah.
Because if they're not making a difference, or they're not up leveling like that, or not producing, right?
Yeah.
It's a good way to be able to find out, or maybe they're just happy, they're doing great, and they just want to stay at this level. This is it, and boom, and they're there.
Yeah. Good answer.
Thank you.
Okay. So you were just recently in Spain and then Copenhagen. And you've been doing this guy does a lot of travel. You do a lot of travel within the States, but also internationally. What's happening with chiropractic internationally? Because I know you talk to a lot of people, so you kind of know what's going on around the world in chiropractic, which I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Everywhere besides like the U.S. and Canada and in other areas that you get out of high school, go right into chiropractic school, and it's a 5-year program, right? It's more what we would call in the States a master's, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just fascinating, because chiropractic right now in Malaysia, there's a school in Malaysia that's taking off. Hong Kong, there's a school taking off. And so there's amazing things happening right now, especially with the established colleges. A very dear friend of mine, Dr. Christina, she's phenomenal, her, Dr. Christina Cunliffe. And she's got two schools in England, right? This is McTimoney College. And 2 schools in England, one in Oxford, and one, I believe, in Manchester. And then there's a school in Spain, Madrid, Spain, and then there's a school in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. And they're just going to be going online in January with a school in Ireland. And, they're just taking their product and spreading it out. And it's just wonderful. And then, the Barcelona College and New Zealand College and Australia Chiropractic College, in Adelaide. There's really great schools that are out there. And then there's other schools popping up, like in Brazil and different places that aren't necessarily accredited and that. I'm not saying that they don't come out as good adjusters. I don't really know that, but there's just this different variances that are out there depending on the country that you're in. So we're not getting a consistent product, but that's okay, I guess, because it's going to be different in different cultures, right?
Right.
So it's just fascinating. I think there's more chiropractors around the world right now than there are, in North America. Right. Right. So
I like that. I learned something new.
Yeah.
Looking back over the last, I think it's been 8 years, 7 months that you've been in this role?
8 years, 8 months, yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the accomplishments that you're most proud of, looking back?
There's a lot. Obviously we brought a lot to the college. We changed a lot of things. When I say changed, we didn't take something that was broken. We just improved upon it. I'd say my biggest, that if I could put a crown on something, it'd be the curriculum that we put in, that we're still working with, a clinically inspired curriculum. It's crazy, when I got to the college, it was like, it was just how I went to school. It was like, science is your first year, science is a little bit adjusting your second year, getting into that technique and stuff. And then your third year, was, going toward your last year was clinical, right? Third year was more student clinic, and then your fourth year, if we broke it up like 4 years, was, outpatient clinic, right? And I just looked at that and, I just saw that there had to be a change, and so the change was to be more competency-based. And competency-based learning is more just hands-on. We're going to go out and we're going to be taking care of people. 99% of the people coming to Life West, 99 point something, over 99% are going to go out and practice, right? The other maybe 0.5% or 0.75% or maybe 1%, hopefully they get into research or they're teaching, right? Because we love to have people stay and teach, right? But the majority are going to go out. So why wait to the very end to get them into outpatient care? So we started this clinically inspired learning curriculum from day one, from week one. They're palpating. They're in our technology training center, right? Working on the mannequins and getting instant feedback on forces that they're putting in. Just things like that are actually, they're performing as they're going through. I want them on the field right away, not sitting looking for a book, reading from a book, which is great didactically, but reading from a book and then later on getting on the field. Go on the field now and still be in the classroom. You'll still learn, right? It's how we learn, correct? It's how we learn by doing. So that, I would say that's probably it. One of the greatest things. Our service trips are incredible. I mean, our preceptor program, we expanded to, our whole last year now is our students can go out to get real world experience. That's why, so they do their courses online and they can do real world experience, and it just allows them to be in an office where they can, crack that nut, or we could crack the nut of teaching business, and so that's worked out really, really well, and we're still growing it, we're still refining it, we're still doing a bunch of stuff with it.
And what's the percentage? I know there's a percentage of students that are out preceptoring.
A lot. I mean,
it's high, isn't it?
It's high. I mean, they all have to get out at some point to preceptor. At least their last quarter they have to. It's difficult because we have a mom with 3 kids. And it's like she just can't leave her kids and go to Tulsa, Oklahoma to work with someone that she wants to work with over there, She just can't do that, or Oklahoma City, shout out to Tim Young, who's one of our preceptor docs. She just, so that's difficult. So they might stay more in the clinic here, but they have to go in the area then and work for a doctor, right? Because they have to get that experience. We feel it's critical for their growth as a chiropractor, right? And I was just on the phone today with one of our students, and he's preceptoring in Washington State, and he's just a wonderful, he's going to be a phenomenal chiropractor. He was just telling me his experience, his first quarter out preceptoring, and he's seeing people every day, and he's learning, everything in the office, from how to do report of findings to how to, do the exams that they do, very different than in the college, but it should be, and the paperwork that has to go, all this stuff, but it's real, and not that our health center isn't real, but our health center is more educational.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so we'll zoom out. We're going to leave Life West again and go back out into the profession. I know this is a question that we ask potential employees when we would hire them in the practice about liabilities and assets. I want to know what your thoughts are for the profession of what are the greatest opportunities, and I also want to know what the greatest threats are. So I want to know the good, bad, and the ugly of just because what you see, because you've been out there more and you kind of see what's going on in the profession.
Yeah. Wow. I think it's both. I think our greatest opportunity is also one of our greatest weaknesses right now, right? And it's our identity. It's our identity as chiropractors, right? I mean, I think about it. If we asked 100 chiropractors what chiropractic is, what their definition of chiropractic is, we could get, different definitions. And they're right. They're all correct, It's how they perceive it. We don't have one definition of what a chiropractor does. Right. And we do. We have our own, right? Which a lot of people adhere to, right, on a vitalistic level. We believe that chiropractic is a correction of vertebral subluxation to allow the body to have the best ability to adapt to its environment, right, and grow as healthy as it can possibly be and reconnect, the person, right? And yet that's not necessarily the same sentiment, and it's not wrong what other people are thinking, but we just have to have an identity, The dentist got it right. The dentists.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, people know what the dentists do. But you can go to chiropractors and never have your spine touched.
And the dentists all do it a little differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can do it differently.
Yeah.
But you know you're going to go to a dentist, especially a general dentist, let's just say, general dentistry.
Yeah.
You know you're going to go and they're going to check your teeth, right? That's what they do. They're going to check your teeth, check your gums, possibly look for cavities, whatever it is that in that appointment, right? And it's just known. There's no question at all.
Yeah.
Unless someone has no idea what a dentist is, and then they're going to find out. But if they went to another dentist, might be the touch might be different, but it's pretty much, they're looking for the same thing. And in chiropractic, we just don't have that uniformity, right? We don't have that. So that's a liability, but it's also it's a wonderful opportunity for us, right? To be able to just drive that and get it the same everywhere in the world. I mean, everywhere, to be able to define what we do, And the other thing that I feel is so important, back when I graduated, in 81 and you graduated in 86, it was like you get a patient and that patient's your patient. And has a sports injury, most likely you're going to take care of it even if you don't do sports, right? Unless it gets to the point where you can't do anything, then you'll find someone, right? I mean, nowadays, they have 3 chiropractors, and they should. We do.
Yeah.
We take care of each other, but we also have an upper cervical chiropractor, right? And then, whether it's sports or whatever else it is, or pregnancy or whatever it might be, you can see somebody else, and so we should all have that, whether it's 3, whether it's 4, NET, phenomenal. But we have to learn how to work with each other and be with each other and realize, come from the vision that Dr. Sid Williams used to talk about, right? The field is white with harvest. There's a lot of cotton out there. It's like there's not just a little bit. There's a lot. And we got to come from that standpoint of there's an abundance. The more we bring in, and the more we're able to get people to the right place and be able to see, and they're going to refer back. We got a brain center. Everyone should have a functional neurologist.
Right.
I mean, my gosh, I'm a patient at the brain center, right? And you still check my spine. And I have upper cervical care, that kind of stuff. And if I got a sports problem, I can see sports. It's like, why isn't everybody doing that, right? That's a great opportunity for us.
I mean, that's the best question is, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah,
and it kind of goes back to, when you talked about identity, it's like also unity, right? Because that's a great answer. The question is, how? You've got the why, but like, how do we change the identity? Like, how do we come up with a unity for the professional?
A blueprint to make that work.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be generational. I do. I mean, we can't take 100,000 or people all over the world, whatever we have around the world. We can't take them and just say, okay, here's this, because they're getting different schools of thought and it's okay to get different schools of thought, right? Once again, you could have a different Jesuit colleges and they might be teaching different ways, right? But the religion at least has some kind of conformity, right? And we aren't even there yet, but I think it's going to be generational. I think that it's going to be generations coming up, and even now I see it now in the generation of students that we have, and the young practitioners, even our daughters. They send out, they co-refer, they just work together more. They're not in that mindset of, it's in here, I got to hold on to it until it leaves me, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be bummed.
Yeah.
It's not like that. And it's so, and yet it doesn't discount lifetime care. And if you're a lifetime care doctor like we are, right? Then you're going to take care of people for life. But then you send them out, and they're going to come right back. It's not like you're not giving them up. You're sending them to where they need to go, just like you'd send them to an eye doctor or you'd send them to anybody else. So I think generationally it's going to happen, and
Good.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the students. I want to know, in the over 8 years you've been here, have you seen a change in the students as far as attitudes and probably learning? That's a question I have too. I know, because I think I know the answer to that question, but what has been the shift that you've seen in the students, since you've been here? Yeah,
well, I will tell you this, that when I first got here, we were still teaching on overhead projectors and somewhere, and then we had computers, but we had projectors going onto a big screen and that kind of stuff, and it's good. It was all good, but the student mind has changed, and this is everywhere. I mean, this is culturally, right? The students we have right now in school were raised on cell phones. They've had cell phones their whole life. It's been around them their whole life. Our kids, it wasn't like that, right? They're taking in bits of information. They read differently. They learn differently. you and I walk around the school. We can walk outside and just do a lap around the building, right? And we'll see students, and they've got earplugs in, earbuds, right? Or earbuds, whatever kind of buds they have, and they're studying. And we could stop them and say, "Hey, what are you studying?" "Oh, I'm studying neurology." "What are you listening to?" And they'll say,
A podcast.
Yeah, a podcast. Dave Matthews, whatever it is, you know. You know, I remember we're talking to Luna, right, my goddaughter.
Yeah.
You remember we had that conversation with her and her brothers, and we were saying, "So what do you guys like to listen to?" And she said, I have to listen to music. I have to listen to stuff while I study. I can't study in silence." But when she was doing math, it had to be classical music. That's what she had said. It has to be classical, just only for math.
Right.
The brain is just wired differently. They take on so much more information. They're getting more information every day. More than our grandparents got, in a lifetime, they can get in a day, right? So they have to be taught to differently, right? And a lot of that teaching comes down to the competency. And that's where we're going to see more of this happening. You can't have one student who might be competent in something. They're just going to stagnate if they have to wait for everyone else to do something, right? So if they're competent, they can show their competency, then move on, right? Or help. Peer-to-peer learning. So there's all these differences happening right now, and then the technology that we have. I mean, every one of our classes are filmed, and when they're filmed, every one of our students can at nighttime watch every class that they're in. So they can go back and they watch it at 1.5 the time speed, right? They can do that, right? So they're watching it quickly, but they're catching information, and their whole learning environment is totally different, and it's going to change even more. AI is going to change how we learn. I mean, they can just ask AI. They can ask Claude or ask, whoever, whatever genius that they're speaking with in the AI domain, and be able to say, "Tell me all about, how the optic nerve does whatever," and they're going to get the answer because it's just going to go research it for them, right?
Right.
It's all changing, and if we don't change, we're going to have a bunch of frustrated learners. And we had frustrated learners when I got here. We did. We're always going to have them because they're moving to the next level and we're not catching up, right? And rightfully so. How can we catch? They move much quicker than we do. And by the time we get it right, a new group is doing something different. It's moving that quick. So higher ed is very interesting, and it'll be even more interesting as time goes on. But I've said this for years and years and years. I think we'll be going to a 3-year undergraduate program. I don't think we're doing a 4-year. Students don't need to have, at least in the U.S., USA, have American Lit and American history and Lit and all this different stuff. They've had it, or it's all right there on their on their device or devices, right? They want to get in, teach me, and boom, what else can I learn? And that's how we got to feed that mind, not stagnate it, right? It's difficult when I speak this language and they don't speak the language. This is what I speak. So it's a difficult transition. But we'll figure it out. I think AI is going to be a big part of that. Well,
I was going to ask you, is there a downside to AI? Not that it matters. I mean, the train has already left the station. There's no pulling it back. So we have to adapt to that. But I just said that question just came into my head, though. Will there be a downside, do you think, in learning?
I think that, I don't think there'll be a downside, but I think it's going to just totally change.
Yeah.
So the old way of learning, and even the new way, which is already old, that's how quickly things move.
Yeah.
It's just going to change.
Yeah.
I think what AI is going to do is it's going to accelerate, the change, and that's important. That's important. Sometimes it takes inflection points, and I think AI is going to in our world is an inflection point right now. Just like we have other inflection points that happened. Cell phones were an inflection point. Next thing you know, when we first had our first cell phone, remember the one I had in that Mercedes?
Oh gosh, yeah.
The whole trunk was the guts of it, right? And the handles there, and I think it cost me $2 a minute every time I was on it,
And people would be like, "Are you calling me from your car?"
Yeah, exactly. And then how shortly afterwards did we all have flip phones at that time? The Nokias and stuff like that. And now everyone's got either an Android, smartphones. I mean, it moves very, very quickly. So that's what I see, and I think it's going to be a good thing. Because the brain's changing, right?
Well, and do you know our 8-year-old grandson, Braxton, already says things like, "Oh, I don't know, I'll just ask ChatGPT."
Yeah.
So, like when I first heard that, And Lauren said, no, you go research that. He's like, I am.
That's how he researches it.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to Morgan just this past weekend. We were with my second daughter, Morgan, who teaches an online course at Life West, and a business course. She teaches a couple, but a business course. And I was talking to her about, do you teach like how to use, chat or Claude or whatever else, and have them actually do assignments with it so they can actually see how easy it is. I mean, it is nuts, right? If I was starting to practice right now, it's I could get the whole thing done in a day,
Right.
From my logo to my this
Right.
to my that. I mean, everything is just shifting so quickly. Videos, editing, all that stuff. It's just moving at lightning speed. So it's just trying to keep up,
Yeah. Okay. What advice would you give to the incoming president, Dr. Peter Kevorkian?
Oh man. First of all, Dr. Peter is awesome, and
Yeah.
I am so
I agree.
happy. I am so happy. What advice would I give him?
Yeah.
Can I just share with you the advice I have given him, because I've already given him
Yes.
advice. It's just to sit, and listen. But he didn't need that. He does that anyways. But just one of the things that I learned going back to that leadership, right, is that when you're at a table with a bunch of people, and that tends to happen with a president or a CEO of a corporation, listen to everybody. Like, don't get at the table and say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do, and da 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 da, because it's just like, all right, get ideas first, right? So listen, say, hey guys, look, we're thinking about doing this. This is what I have on my mind, and I want to see, what do you think about it, and what can you add to it, and and then you let them go, right? And take notes, or have something in the background picking it all up, right?
Right.
Or a recorder, whatever it is, and then listen, and be able to watch, and hear and feel what people are saying. Are they sitting back? Are they leaning in? And who's engaged? Who's not engaged? It's more than just the words. It's who's on target with this stuff and who resonates with it. The others will possibly, or they won't. But it's more about observing, right, and listening. And so, that's one of the things that I've kind of, not that I had to work with him on. He noticed that. He's been with me, so he's been with. It's different. He's been with me.
Right.
But the thing I will say to him, and I'll say it right now because he'll hear it anyways when he sees the tape, is that just follow your instinct. You know the direction of where we're going, and you also know the direction of chiropractic. So just follow it. Follow your gut. Follow your instinct. It's not going to lead you wrong. In chiropractic, it is from the inside out, and that's where all our ideas came from, was from the inside out. So, it is from the inside out, and just be observant, because there's a lot of people doing amazing things on the higher ed space that you just have to go and check universities out, and Remember when we put together our learning commons, got rid of our library?
Yeah.
And when Mark Ziegler and I were traveling to all of our places, we were going for doctors' dinners and things like that, and alumni dinners, and any town I was in, I went to the library. I think
Right.
Mark and I walked into more libraries. I walked in like I owned the place because I didn't have a card, to get into the library. At any university where I drive, Denver, we go up to Boulder and check out.
I know. Many times I was in the car waiting for you or with you in the library.
Yeah, but that's, you just observe.
We got a lot of good ideas.
Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And that's the observing part, So,
Yeah.
and Dr. Peter's going to do amazing. I mean, he's going to do amazing, and he's already doing amazing things. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now that we're about to step into our next chapter, maybe share with the audience, what's next for you, and more importantly is, how do you see yourself staying connected to the chiropractic community? Because to be very clear, and you have made this very clear when you've heard people saying you're retiring, you usually correct them and say, I'm just retiring from Life West.
Yeah.
And which I know what that means.
Yeah.
That means that you're retiring from this role, but you're not retiring from chiropractic or from working.
Yeah, or life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And I love what you recently said. I heard you say, I'm not retiring, I'm rewiring.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and I am. I'm rewiring, and the process hasn't taken place. The neuroplasticity is just kind of starting. Like, it's just the wires are trying to find the ends with each other. So what's next? Well, I think the biggest thing that what's next is, and I don't think I just want to share with you people this, and I'm only saying this just to give you the reality of the situation, right? Running, especially at higher ed and education, it's a 25-hour a day job. It really is. Like, you wake up in the morning thinking about something, you go to bed thinking about it, your phone's ringing at different times, you're getting text messages all the time. It's not because there's bombs going off, it's because there's a lot that happens, right? And a lot that happens around the world. So I could be getting text messages at nighttime, as you know, and they could be coming from India where it's in the daytime, right? That kind of thing. So there's just a lot, and one of the signs that I had, you know this already, but one of the signs that I had to lead me to the thought process of retiring from the presidency was my presence.
Yes.
I just wasn't present with my grandkids, and I just wasn't, I was there, but I was always being interrupted, and things were happening, and I don't think we've had a vacation where I wasn't doing work, and it's because the work doesn't stop, but believe me, it's who I am, I attract that, so I'm responsible for that, and I take responsibility for it because, we got so many irons, in the fire that it's just what's up, and so. Yeah, I want to take time to be present. When I saw that, and I think one of our kids said that, and said to me also, I just noticed this, when you're with the grandkids, whatever. And I was with them, but I just wasn't with them.
Not 100%.
Yeah, not like I was with our kids, right?
Right.
And so, so I just want to be 100%, So I want to take some time, and be with my grandkids and be with our family and be with you, of course, and, and just put the phone down, as you say, stick it in a Faraday bag and give it to me every 2 hours a day at the beginning to wean me off. But it's like I want to slow down. I want to breathe. I talked to a really close friend, Ed Cordero, who's just a wonderful guy, and Ed is now he's running the ICA, and he's just a phenomenal guy. And he was president of Sherman for 10 years or whatever it was. And he said to me, it took him time. It took him, 8 months or 10 months, whatever, just to get his sleeping patterns down and just to feel like he was back in his body again. It's that kind of a thing, and responsibility that's there. So I'm looking forward to that, and then after that, what I just see myself right now. I can only say this: I see myself doing something. I don't know, but it's always going to be a chiropractic, but it might be something outside of chiropractic too. But it will always be the chiropractic message.
Right.
Above, down, inside out. It'll always be that. Where does life come from? Inside out, right? And there's going to be something that I'll be doing around that. If it is chiropractic, I can see it being something internationally. Just because the landscape of where I'm coming from here, I think there's a lot to offer internationally. But we're going to see. I'm just going to let innate kind of guide it. Let the universe guide it, and I'll figure it out. Just if I get aware enough, it'll hit me, and I'll know it. And I've always done that, and I'll go back to that and just and work from that level, and But whatever it is, I just we still have the same vision and the same mission. But
that's right.
But I want to be more connected to me, and that's super important. I don't know if that answered it.
That answered the question. Yeah, that did answer the question, because I know that, the question I keep getting is what's next? What's next? Yeah. And it feels really good to tell people that we don't know what's next because we don't have anything lined up. Yeah. And that feels really good. And I just know this chapter, I want this next chapter to be, I know that you're a driven person, so I know whatever you do, you'll put 110% into it. I want you to choose something that's fun for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that this wasn't fun, but this was grueling, and there was a lot of hours, and you didn't sleep great.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was a blast.
It was a blast. I know. I get that.
Yeah, but I hear you.
I just want this one to really fill you up and allow you to sleep. Yeah. I guess if I had one wish, just allow you to relax a little bit more and just be, like you said, be present.
I promise you this, and that's what I do. A promise to myself, right? Is that whatever I do, right, I'm going to do it from wherever I want to.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I won't be in an office somewhere that we have to move to, or anything like that. That's just not going to happen. That I can see right now, and it's not what I want right now. Right. I want to be in Montana. We're going to spend our summers in Montana, and we're going to spend our winters in Phoenix, right, and then traveling to see our kids and doing different stuff. And I see myself doing that. And the world right now lends that, right. that I could do things
Right.
from wherever. And, and I want to be golfing, get back into golf, and I want to, just do all the things that I was kind of doing when I left practice,
Right.
and that I loved, and my life was really balanced. And, the interesting thing for me was, and you know this, because from all the seminars we've taught and all the coaching we've done, it was all about balance, right? It's all about, chiropractic is about balance, right?
And harmony.
And harmony, yep. And harmony is probably a better word, right? And yet, I jumped into the fire pit, and I can, at any given time, I would tell you, no, of course I'm not in balance. I've got all this stuff kind of happening, that kind of thing. And it's just how I dealt with it. I'm not saying other people can't deal with it like that. Other people can probably be much different, right? It's just
Yes.
Ron Oberstein, right? And so I'm looking forward to bringing that harmony back, and then doing the things that I know that I love to do that I haven't done in a while, like, pick up a golf club in, almost 9 years, except for a par 3 course when we were in Mexico with my grandson,
Right.
and my son-in-law, a month ago, right? But actually just kind of doing that stuff, and, being in Montana and figuring out what we're going to do there, and, whether it's gardening or whether it's, but I'm not going to be on the porch, drooling and not knowing my name. That ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
I'll be busy.
Okay, well, that leads me to a really important question I have for you. So give this one some thought, okay? Do you need new golf clubs?
I don't.
No?
No, my golf clubs are new. They just haven't been swung in a while.
Okay.
But I purchased them a year before I closed the bag.
Yeah.
And I want to get back into those
Okay.
clubs. Yeah.
Because after what you've done here at Life West, I think you deserve new golf clubs at the very least.
Well, I have to tell you something. I need a new golf swing, and that's what I'm thrilled about. Seriously,
Yeah.
Because everyone has a natural golf swing, but then when you start playing, I was playing twice a week.
At least.
Yeah, and it's like my swing just became my swing, right?
Yeah.
And since I haven't done that, the hopefully the neuroplasticity has worn off, and now I get to go and reframe a new swing, and that's what I want to do. So I'm already watching videos and,
Okay, good.
and looking at possibly getting a coach and doing that stuff, so I can just go out and do that. Work on me,
Yeah.
It's going to be very, very
Good.
fun. Yeah,
Well, the journey's been fun, and I'm ready for the next chapter.
me too. And you know what, Mary, I really mean this, and I, I'm thrilled to do it with you. Whatever it is that we're going to do, I'm just thrilled to do it with you. So,
Me too.
And you've been a great partner, and I cannot leave this webcast without letting our viewers know and acknowledge you for what you've done, and I want to say more of a sacrifice than anything.
Yeah.
Coming up to leaving San Diego and coming to the Bay Area. Our kids were there. Still have a daughter there now, and just all the thing, our home, everything else, and just made the journey, and
Yeah.
it was great. I shouldn't go on too much more, right?
No. I should have brought tissues.
Yeah, but I do. So I want to appreciate, just say thank you. And
Welcome.
yeah,
And it wasn't, I don't look at it like it was a sacrifice. I don't look at it like I'm not the martyr, like I gave up so much, because it was a choice.
yeah,
And it was a choice when I chose you.
yeah. Well, I choose you. And
Perfect.
Thanks. And to our viewers, right?
Yeah.
Was that the last question?
That was the last question.
Last question.
I'm out of questions.
Okay.
I'll have our tears.
Well, to our viewers, thank you. This is our last webcast,
Yeah.
and we started this during COVID, and it was to connect people, bring people back together again. So I started the Life West leadership line, and then it branched off into the Life by Life West that we
Right.
co-host
Right.
together, and we've had amazing guests on our shows, and we've had people writing us all the time and thanking us, and that's the connection that's there, right? And what they
Oh,
loved
yeah.
about wherever we travel. Oh God, I saw this, or I love watching you guys, or whatever it is, right? And so thank you. Everything has to end at some point, and this will be our last webcast. And it's bittersweet. I love you, and I love that. I hope we brought something to you that nourished your soul, nourished your mind, and really was able to add something to your life. And that was our whole purpose, was really just about connection. And I want to thank all of our guests that have ever been on any of the shows. I mean, we've had probably 400. I don't know how many shows, tons of shows. Thank you all, and we'll see what's next. And if we are on online somewhere, that you'll hear about it. But we have no idea what's going to be next. But just know this, that we all make a difference, and that the more we can better ourselves and pour into ourselves, the more that we can pour out and give to the world. So, keep watering yourself, keep nourishing yourself, keep your balance or your harmony the best that you can. My lesson right now, and just keep loving each other, because love is what makes this world go round, and it's nothing else but love. It's not technology, it's love. And the more we can give to our patients and give to our families, we'll make this world a healthier place. So stay unsublexated, and thank you for all of these years of tuning into us. So thank you.
Thank you.